Gatens. I was in the 106th Infantry Division, 589th Field Artillery Battalion, Battery A.
How old were you when you?
I was 19 years old. We were in the first draftee for 18-year-olds. Originally, before the war started, they drafted 21-year-olds, and they were supposed to go in training for a year and then get out. But almost at the end of that 1 year, the war broke out, so they didn't get out. They had to stay in. And then about 6-8 months later, they started drafting 20-year-olds. And then sometime after that, they dropped it down to 18.
Okay.
And when they dropped it down to 18, I was only out of high school a couple of months. I had to sign up, and then I wound up in the 106th Infantry Division. And what they did, they took mostly all of the 18, 19-year-old boys, put them into the 106th Infantry Division. And we were a brand new division made up of all these young 19 and 18-year-old boys. We went down to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, went through all the basic training and all kinds of tests, and we passed with flying colors. At the end of about 8 months or so, they decided that they were planning D-Day, so they took out most of all the privates from our highly trained outfit and put them into units that were going to be on the D-Day invasion. And then from that, they sent us new fellas, but we got paratroopers that were injured in their training and couldn't keep up with their training, and ROTC guys, and some also air cadets, because the war was now getting to the point where they had more cadets than they had airplanes, and the war was going to be over.
Oh, okay.
So they decided, and I felt sorry for these poor people, because they volunteered for the service. One guy, most of them wanted to be paratroopers, mostly because they loved the boots they wore. And now they wound up in an infantry division, so they were kind of unhappy. And then, of course, the air cadets were even worse than that, because you sign up to be an air cadet and wind up as a ground soldier. But we trained them, and they all turned out to be real nice people. And we went over with that group.
And where were you placed in Belgium?
Well, we were placed in a wooded area between the town of Orr and Beloff. And that's where we were on the 16th, when the Battle of Both started early in the morning. And they shelled our position almost all day, and we shelled them back again. And then around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, they pulled us out of that position and started moving us back. And then we wound up on the other side of St. Vith. And from there on, it was a stop and go, set up and fire, move, and retreat till we got to Barak d'Infrature, which today is now called Parker's Crossroads, in name of our leader, Major Parker. We wound up there on the 19th of December, and for 4 days we held off the 2nd Panzer Division, which gave people in Bastogne a day's worth of reprieve to get all their units into position with supplies. And the Major McCullough, who was noted for saying nuts to the Germans, he wrote Major Parker a letter after the war commending us for what we did to give his men time to get prepared for the Bastogne battle. And then on December the 23rd, they we were out of ammunition, we were out of medical supplies, we were out of almost everything. And around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they shelled our corner, and I was captured. I was taken prisoner. Some of the fellas got away, but I was in charge of a 105 howitzer, and I couldn't go anywhere unless I took my howitzer with me. So I had to stay there, where some of the other fellows who were individuals like radio operators, forward observers,
Yes.
they got the word to get out and go, so they were free to go, whereas until somebody said to me, hook up your gun and go, I had to stay there, and unfortunately I stayed to the end, and we were overrun, and I became a prisoner. The worst 4 years of my life.
Worst 4 years?
4 months. Sorry.
4 months?
4 months. I'm sorry. I didn't mean 4 years. The worst 4 months of my life.
I bet,
I
yeah.
was captured on the 23rd of December, and I was liberated on April the 28th. Now, the only thing that I really regretted worse than anything in the world was for my mother and father. Because about 3-4 weeks after I was captured, they got a telegram saying I was missing in action.
Yes.
Then they never heard another word for 2 months. And of course you can imagine what parents would be thinking.
Right.
Is he dead? Is he alive? Or whatever. And they then got a telegram about the 1st of April saying that I was a prisoner of war. And about the 3rd week in April, they got the telegram saying I was on my way home. But that time in between...
It must have practically killed them, yes.
Oh, it was horrible for them.
Yes.
I knew where I was,
Yeah.
but they had no idea. And in the papers they were reading how the 106th Infantry Division
Was getting...
got massacred. Most of them were taken prisoner, many wounded, many dead. So naturally you don't know which is which.
I know that the 106 got overran, but how do you think it helped in the war in winning the Battle of the Bulge?
Oh, I think it ended the war, really, because the Battle of the Bulge was not armies fighting. It was individual little groups like we were.
Right.
But there were many of them because Hitler had a plan. He had to be in Antwerp before the weather got good and all that. But all these little groups not only took his weapons and killed a lot of his soldiers, but by the time that the weather broke, he didn't get as far as he was, and then the complete armies then could take over and start pushing them back. But they lost so many men, they lost so much time and so much material that their war was really over.
Okay.
You know? And I would say one thing, nobody knows in this world what it is to lose your freedom. Next to death, losing your freedom is probably the worst thing that can happen to you. You have no right to whatever. Your captors will tell you when you can sit up, when you can stand, when you can walk, and you better do what they tell you because they're free to kill you at any moment because nobody's restricting them. And what we got in this country, freedom, is the greatest thing in the world.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.